All right, guys, welcome back to the third day of promo week for my 5-day challenge that starts on Tuesday. Today we have Amanda Dietrich here. How are you doing, Amanda?
Awesome. So happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. I'm really excited about our conversation today. We're going to be talking about some things that are kind of near and dear to me because I fell into these traps myself. So being able to talk about it is really important. I think the certificate trap and really trusting who you are and trusting your intuition and learning that you are sovereign and don't need external validation for the things that you know. So why don't we go ahead and introduce ourselves a little bit in case anyone hasn't listened to any of the other recordings or come to any of the other lives. I'm Heather. So I am an energy healer, a channel, a spiritual coach, and I have a master's degree in psychology. So I kind of blend science and spirituality with all the things that I do. I'm also a leadership consultant that teaches horizontal partnership with executives and business owners and getting them to work better with their management team. Um, Amanda, you want to share some more about yourself?
Absolutely. I'm a spirit dancer or Amanda Dietrich. I am a former high-risk population counselor and intuitive multidimensional energy leader hybrid who helps people share shit, ignite their light, and awesome. I like how people really dive in their deepest depth of being and bring that out forward, extracting all of the societal programming, healing on your terms, and you're going beyond the surface level healing, but being your truth out, like that deep soul truth side of our perceived truth that we um into ourselves and society puts upon us. So basically shedding all of that society programming shit and reigniting your inner fire and that forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So let's get started talking about the certificate trap. So this is something that was difficult for me to work through because I am very good at, the academic side of things. I always want to learn more. I want to learn everything. And especially when I first started getting into the spiritual community and learning about, the chakras and about mediumship and about all these different things, all these modalities, I was like, okay, I want to learn all of them. I want to know all of them. It's so interesting. It's so amazing. It's something so new that I was like, okay, well, what courses can I take? What can I do to learn about this? And so I did get some certificates, but at the same time, like with my energy healing, I incorporate some shamanic practices into what I do, but I only know a lot about that because I was a Native American shaman in a past life. So my soul remembers these things, and I had to really trust myself and be like, okay, well, I don't need to see it in a class or on a piece of paper. Like, this resonates with me. This is my truth. This feels right. And just kind of following my intuition and really getting into what practices were, just felt true in my soul and my heart, and really trusting that versus having someone else kind of tell me that this is what I need to do, because that doesn't always work either.
Oh,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, I think when you think of pushness of society for education, I've got 2 degrees, and I would have had my master's if it wouldn't, if it for spirit grabbing, like, wait, and giving me a big shake before I did so. But I was on the ball to do that because society pushes us to look within. Let me come into contact with mentors to teach how to look within. And there's definitely, most definitely, a space and a place for the certificates. But we start there's a in a place where it kind of passes where you go from like validation to it's like you're an avoidance of the integrations, right? And that embodiment piece
Mhm.
and leaning in learning. When the beginning of your path, yes, there's absolutely, it's like, how the fuck do I meditate? What is mindfulness? What is any of this? What is the chakra system? And it's getting that base, getting the grounding, learning how to tune deeper into yourself and into source, into God, whatever word you prefer. And extract from your soul center, from straight from source, instead of going to an outside source. But society trains us to be dependent on things outside ourselves and not to trust our own inner guidance. And that's where it gets dicey, right? It's like we go on this train, and a lot of them are taught, mostly one of them, it's like, oh, okay, I need education, I need this education, I need this education. Education's amazing, but where I learned the most, even on my path before the spiritual path, was when I was a frontline counselor. when I was like in nitty gritty, working with people on the streets, in group homes, in all of those situations, just like hands on face to face interaction. That's when I really learned to integrate peace, which is the piece that you really need. And I've met so many extremely intelligent people that could recite theology and textbooks like this. 7 degrees, master PhDs, you name it, absolutely no integration or embodiment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, well, what does that do for you, right? Or people in the spiritual realm have all these wonderful, lovely certificates on the wall and are still just merely scraping the surface because they're not feeling ready or able to sit with all of that knowledge and wisdom, integrate it at a deeper level and pull out what it means for you. It's like, that's Heather does it this way, Amanda does it this way, this does it this way. How do you do it?
Mm-hmm.
What's your deep resonance? A lot of us, especially as old souls, have many different, like you were saying that you were a North American shaman, medicine man, or medicine person in another life. And it's like so many of us old souls were and are, and it's allowing ourselves to sit with that and trust that and bring that forward and do the work it takes to allow ourselves to be able to feel that and to trust that. Because it's not just a light switch. Right? It's that, again, that embodiment, that inner peace, that leaning into yourself, learning into your inner darknesses, all of it. Filter everything and being and really embracing that, allow things to birth.
Mm-hmm.
Because getting often when you're getting it from all of these different outside sources, it's really easy to just learn on a surface level. Learning on deep integrative heart and embodiment level, a whole different thing.
Yeah. And it's interesting because what I've learned in the education setting is that a lot of it is just memorization. So what are you really learning?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're getting all the material, you're reading the books, you're doing the papers, whatever, but it's all very, like you said, very surface level because you're memorizing the information, but are you putting it into practice? Like what are you doing with that information after you receive it? So I mean, and there's a difference between learning something in a classroom and having like an apprenticeship or something like that because you're actually learning how to put it into practice and embodying that into your
Yes.
modalities. So, but the certificate, I mean, sure, it looks good on paper, it looks good hanging on your wall, but what are you really doing with that after you're memorizing it and you're passing your tests? Like when I was in college, when I first started, I took online courses, but I'd be sitting there like after a night of drinking, taking a quiz and having my book open right next to me. So even still, with the accessibility that you have now with online classes and you're not being proctored or looked at while you're taking your exams, now I don't even have to memorize it. I just have to have the material in front of me. Well, what good does that really do for you? Ultimately, I mean, it doesn't do anything because now I'm not even memorizing it. I'm just like, oh, here it is. I just need this A. I need to get through this class. But if you really want to learn something and you want to embody that and really put it into your daily practice, you have to go above and beyond that.
You really, really do. And I used to love it when I was a counselor and you see people come from school and really intelligent people. And then you have somebody in addictions tweaking out their shit. You need to be able to bring this person down to a place of safety, have them feel good, keep everybody else around them safe while not leaning into energy, right? So holding that space and that integrative like harm reduction approach. And the person in the book is like, where's your book now?
Mm-hmm.
You need to be in, you need to ethically feel into the situation. Like it is an embodiment integrated into that practical piece that like you need to be able to think on the ball because
Mm-hmm.
it's a completely different state with the book is. And the great thing learning is wonderful, beautiful thing. But being able to show up to each, if you're going to be working with people, you need to be able to show up to each and every individual person. Because again, using like our past careers. You could have two people in addictions. They have the exact same DOC. They can come from abusive homes and have two completely different energy systems that need two completely different things. What's going to help one is going to hinder the other. So
Mm-hmm.
you need to be able to dive into and connect with person. But in order to do that, you need to be connected to yourself. You have that safety in yourself. You need to have that grounding in yourself. It's not just ah, sorry, surface level thing of like everything, blank coat this whole thing. Blanket coat myself, coat these people, blanket.
Yeah. Because I
It's being able to really feel into that and do the work takes for yourself and for others and hold space because we live in this world that's just like go, 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 go. And sometimes action that you can do is inaction because inaction in itself is an action. It's able to sit with what is showing up, not have to push it, not have to analyze, not go into analysis process, but space for what is this truly. Not this looks like on the surface, but what is truly below the surface and the multitude of layers that are showing over it.
Yeah. And when you're working with people and you show up to a session, like you can't have your textbook sitting there with you, like, oh, let me look this up really quick. So you kind of have to know what you're doing, like you said, and think on your feet and really listen, hold that space, obviously, as a healer, hold that safe space for them and kind of give them that guidance and direction. But in order to do that, you really do have to be in tune with yourself and you have to know, you know, the different circumstances that they have, the different situations that they're in, because everyone's going to be completely different, like you said. So if you don't know the basics,
Absolutely.
if you don't know where you're coming from or what you're doing, like, and just wing it, like it's not going to be effective.
No, not at all. And it's too, when you are in a helping field and when you are helping somebody, whether it's the secular or in the spiritual, you need to have it together. Period of story. Because when you're working with people, cross trigger is a thing. If you don't have your poop in a group, it doesn't like you need to be fully healed. We're humans. We're absolutely healed. We're allowed to stand in our pretty imperfect masters of being. But having, like I said, I cannot say this enough, like that integrative and that embodiment, and knowing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are triggered in the moment, if something is coming up, being able to hold space for that, hold that while holding space for the other person and not get messy and entangled
Yeah.
is a really big thing because the textbook doesn't teach that. That's something we need to be able to, and that's why I say to people always and always, whether you're in the secular therapy, counseling, whichever psychology field, or in the spiritual coaching, mentoring, you need to be able to hold space for the human inside to come up.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you are having a moment, when you're triggered from a situation, hold space for yourself, the environment, and the person, and that's learned.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing a textbook can tell you with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a lot of other things too that like you kind of learn through experience that the textbooks don't tell you. And that's just, one example. So I'm curious, anybody who's listening now or later, if you've gone through anything similar, how many certificates or trainings have you done? And at what point did you realize that you were already deep down the thing that you were trying to become? That the certificate was just more of a validation of things that you already knew deep down inside. And that kind of brings us to our next topic, which is about trusting your intuition, especially as a healing practitioner and really anyone in general. But like, how do you know when you're ready to start doing healing sessions? Say you took the class or you're remembering things from past lives or, whatever the case may be. And you're like, okay, I've learned about this thing. I really enjoy this thing. I want to help other people by doing this thing. How do you know when you're ready to start going from healing yourself, for example, to healing other people?
I think when you have that is different for everybody. And that me, I'll say to people like once you've got a good center grounding in your own practice, then you're ready. Like once you show up to your own darknesses and once you've learned how, especially for energy, Reiki, body talk, whatever it is, right? Running any kind of frequencies, once you've got that relationship with that energy and you easily cut it and feel confident in running it, knowing the difference in your body between ego and intuition.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing the difference in your body, your being and spirits talking versus its ego, and different levels of spirit. Right? So when getting spirit for higher self from others, creator when you're getting lower vibration entities come in, people who have passed. Like it's all a different soul vibration. So when you're able to hold space for all the things, and especially as a new practitioner, be able to hold space when something comes in and not get fearful, shut down. I've seen that happen. I've seen people do that, shutting down because they jumped the gun. It's like, oh my God, I took this course and I did this. Okay, cool. How long do you sit with that energy? How long do you learn that energy? How long have you been doing your own, sitting in your own shadows? If you can't see your own shadows, what's going to happen if somebody else comes up and to do that?
Yeah.
Because it's going to happen, I promise you this. So, and like one is that ego versus intuition. And no, and we're all human, nobody perfect. So is it sounds really difficult to tell the difference because sometimes they kind of ride together? Yeah, absolutely. I'm not saying you need to be perfect, but being able to feel grounded it and ride with radical accountability.
Hmm.
Really show our accountability, like starting with working somebody that you're comfortable with first and then matching from there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like the saying, if you wait until you're ready, you're going to be waiting forever. So I think that
Yeah,
really becoming self-aware and trusting, like, okay, I have confidence in myself. And especially when it comes to intuitive things, like I, especially when I first started, like I would be like, okay, well, am I really ready to start doing this for other people? Because certain things like energy healing and like it affects people. Akashic records readings, like, well, what if I give them the wrong information? Well, I won't. Like, that's the thing. You have to be confident in yourself and your own abilities, and also be like, okay, well, even if I don't know what that looks like right now, I have to trust myself and know that when I get into that situation, I will know what to do when that time comes. And that's, comes from being self-aware, being confident, and really trusting and learning how to listen to your intuition. And like you
absolutely.
said, knowing the difference between the ego and the intuition, because the ego is always very loud. It's very it doesn't always come from a place of love. It's like, oh well, I've heard like if then statements your ego will use. It will give you like time constraints. It'll be like, well, you should have done this, the shoulda woulda couldas. Like that's all the ego, and it's always very loud. But if you
Yeah,
can learn to block that out to a degree where you can listen to your intuition and listen to spirit and listen to your own soul, which is much more quiet and will always come from a place of love. It really gives you a jump start with being able to trust yourself and have that confidence in what you're doing.
absolutely. I heard a while ago somebody said that readiness is not feeling action. I fully and completely agree with that. And exactly with what I said is having that confidence and being able to stand in that. And I've been doing this a long time. I've been doing this for decades. Oh, I'm to myself. Long time. And it's like there's always going to be something that comes up and you go, what? Because you're not going to have growth with the challenge. And we're in this beautiful, expansive journey of learning and unbecoming, unlearning. So that's going to happen, and it's okay. There's always going to be a time when you're working with another person. When the trigger do weird shit, you need to be able to really stand in your power and your truth and hold space for that. I don't know how many times I've said things where I know damn right, like I know damn well that what I said was right,
Mm-hmm.
and I've got their guys like in my head about it. And they're like, nope, nope, nope. And it's like releasing that attempt to outcome, knowing, oh, I'm in communication, person's higher self, their spirit guides, I'm pulling the message through. It's not up to me how the person takes it. It's up to me to convey the message. If that, like, if there's supposed to be in session and they obviously need to have, session because they're sitting there, um, times happens, and a lot of new practitioners get really, really thrown off by this. Is the person you're working with is like, no, and they go into resistance. Being its old space. Sometimes plant a seed. It's not up to you when the person's able to integrate that information. They may integrate it tomorrow, they integrate it a week from now, a month from now, 10 years from now. I have had people message me 5 years after a freaking session. Oh my God, thank you so much. Last week this happened. And I thought you were full of shit. And no, you in fact are not full of shit. And everything came full. So maybe I listened earlier, I would have been able, I'm like, your path is your path is your path.
Mm-hmm.
And it is what it is, right? You come into the information that you need to, integrations you need to as you do. Some of us are stubborn, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It's, but it had to happen more times than I remember, honestly, where in the moment, and I've been doing this so time, like I said, and it still rocks me. I still have human moments like, oh my God, am I full of shit? What's going on? Damn, well, I'm not full of shit.
Yeah.
I'm a human. You're just, oh my God.
Yeah.
And it's no, because I have spirit telling me, I'm like, fuck you. they're right. It's coming from spirit.
And that's the thing, like I talk about this a lot too with people, is because we are human and we do get defensive sometimes. And we're like, okay, well, if this isn't resonating with you, is there something wrong with me? And it's not. Like I try to tell people, the way you react to a situation is a reflection of you, but the way someone else reacts to a situation is a reflection of them. Maybe they're not ready to hear it. Maybe they were rushing into this whole, situation, this healing, whatever, but you are planting seeds, and the way they react, like, you can't take that personally. You have to have that sort of thick skin, because you're not going to resonate with everyone, which is fine. There's so many of us out there to have enough resources and tools for the entire world, that one person might resonate with you and another person might not, and that's totally okay. But you have to really have that
Yeah.
self-awareness and that confidence to be like, okay, well, I know that it's not me. I'm telling you what I'm supposed to tell you, and whatever the reason is behind that is up to you to decide, because you can take what I say as fact or run with it, or you can say, no, I don't think this is right, but you might change your mind later, or it might give you a lesson in discernment, or it might be like a whole different number of things. But that has nothing to do with the reading that you gave, or the healing that you gave, or the session, because you do know what you're doing. And it's really, when you have more than one person in a group that's doing something, like, you're not going to appeal to everyone, and you're not going to maybe word it the right way or explain it in a way that they can understand at that point in time, but could really get the gears flowing. So there's so many different things to consider when you're doing a session with someone, that really, it doesn't come down to, am I full of shit, or am I, making this up, but really, like, what are they ready to hear? How can I word this in a way that they'll understand? And kind of remembering that as a healer, we have a responsibility also to kind of meet that person where they're at, and not where we think they should be. So,
And that's
people talk about jargon and they talk about things, but like, you have to be able to explain things in a way that the other person is going to understand.
absolutely, because if you don't, it's like this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's for some of us, encoding things. So saying in a way, getting the vibrational and the understanding level they are at. But you can code different frequencies and then different meanings into as well.
Mm-hmm.
Once I figured to do that, I'm like, this is fun. You're saying thing at the level that they are already willing and able to integrate that. But as it kind of like goes in, and as it do the integration, more kind of comes. You might even be anywhere them at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, because time and space and existence the way we believe to. So they're coding, and I'm losing my earth words right now. Being able to put the extended meaning in something.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to say alphabet, have like A, B, C, D, G, H, like the whole lot, like right in there without saying it. But
Mm-hmm.
just like, here's A. It is right there. It's like, here's A. It's on the alphabet. Here you go.
Yeah.
And then when they're willing and able, the rest of the integration comes.
Yeah. And that's similar with like the downloads and upgrades and stuff that you hear people talk about. Is like, I'll be sitting here and I'll feel this flow of energy rush through my body, and I'm like, okay, and then my ear will start ringing. I'm like, all right, I know I'm getting a download, but I'm like, I have no idea what it is, because they put it into your subconscious. And it's just like with a session, when you're explaining something to someone, they might latch onto one thing and not hear the rest, but their subconscious hears it, and it's in there, the seeds are planted. And as they're ready to hear the rest, they'll start to remember, or things will start to click into place. So there's a lot of things behind when you do the energy healing, a lot of intentions, and a lot of like purposeful things that you put into that energy that can go into that subconscious layer or their energy field, that will kind of sit there and wait until they're ready for that next piece of the puzzle to come through. So even if you're like, man, they picked one word out of this whole thing and kind of stuck with that, well, maybe that's where they were at and what they were ready to hear, but the rest is still there. It's just, it'll come out as that person is ready for it.
That's exactly it. And I've had many people come to me saying, I'm feeling frazzled, I'm feeling stressed out, I don't know my name, or it's like, I'm not going to remember any of this, or oh, we should record this. It's okay because your entire beingness, your subconscious integrates exact energetic field integrates what it needs to integrate, and it's planting it. What needs to be there will grow. It needs when it needs to. If you forget something, then it's like perimenopausal or a different person. So sometimes it goes and it's what needs to get will be here and trusting that and learning to be it's like okay wherever I'm at right now because again we're human we're so human we have big really big beautiful things coming through when you have big integration these big messages coming to you somebody else sometimes oh my god it's so big I can't hold it on you know it's the beautiful thing of it it's not a doing it's a being thing.
Yeah.
It's like I heard somebody to talk about we're not human doings, human beings, and as silly as that is so true. It's like we're constantly feeling like we need to like actively grasping and bringing it back to action is action. Sitting beingness, laughing, non-doing, just being present with something full like
Mm-hmm.
as best as you can. Like if you are in squirrel mode, that's okay. It's your subconscious still like trusting that you're still doing what you need to. I don't know how many times in this squirrel mode, and I'm just like shit, oh God, I'm down and I needed to know that. And
Yeah.
then I calm my nervous system back down again. And once I come back to my body and my beingness, I thought I was in.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we create our own resistance things.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes a big difference. So I'm going to
And
ask,
the perfectionism is the big one too.
yeah.
Being able to like recognize perfectionism when it when and how it's showing up on either side of it, being the practitioner or being somebody in the receiving and being able to shift that out, take the driver's seat back from actionism, take the driver's seat back. They're present, but they can't be driving the car. They need to sit in the back seat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Taking the seat back and like, okay, here you are, coolio, not denying any aspects of yourself because they're aspects of our being. Sitting them is just going to make them angry and suppressed and come up and bite you on the ass, and you really don't want it. But
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, here you are. Thank you, but no you. Shut that yap. Be present. I'm not listening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's another thing, another layer of that self-awareness though too. Like because you if you especially if you know these things about yourself, you have to kind of find a way to work through it and work around it to bring back your power and be like, okay, this isn't working for me right now. Like, let's put a pin in this. We'll come back to it, but kind of set it aside and really get back down to like who you are within and be like, okay, I know this about myself. Like for me, like I have ADHD and I have to find ways to work through that because it's really impeded a lot of like learning how to meditate and listening to my intuition. I know you can relate, but like being able to find ways to make it work with you and work for you rather than work against you and that's you know whether it's menopause or perimenopause or ADHD or depression or whatever there's so many different things that we have to work through on so many different levels and so really figuring out how to
Yeah.
get your power back and to not give these things there's something like people who and I do mention that I have ADHD sometimes but I don't like when people use their diagnosis as an identity because yes, you might have this thing that you're working through, but it's not who you are. There are ways to get through it, whether it's on an energetic level, a physical level, a mental and emotional level. There's ways to work through it. And I would like I used to have chronic pain and I don't anymore since I've started doing energy work and I've really gotten to the root of those problems. So using your diagnosis as an identity like I try to talk people out of that. I'm like, well, it's of course it's not getting better because you keep speaking it into the universe. Like this is who I am. That's not who you are. You are an
You're
energetic
identifying.
being having a human experience, and that is not your identity. So really getting down to, like I said before, calling your power back and knowing that none of this really exists anyway. So work try to find a way to work through it and to make it work for you and not against you is something that I try to help people understand.
Absolutely. And that's a really, really great piece too. The being mindful you claim. Like they keep like not my like okay, cool. You're naming the feeling, the experience. Like I'm really anxious right now. Cool. Anxiety is bringing up two completely different vibrational resonances, right? One, you're clinging. And when I catch myself too, I'm a human. Like, when I'm saying, like, hey, peripausal neurodivergent in the house, I'm not saying it's me. I'm like, there are things that I'm experiencing and
Mhm.
not pushing against these things that are showing up for you, but work with and through. It's like, oh, okay, I've got a neurodivergent brain. So how to process is a little different. So how does it work for me?
Mhm.
Because how it works for me as a neurodivergent is going to be different than how it works for you. It's going to be different. My partners are also neurodivergent, and in some places we're very similar. In other places, you couldn't be more polar opposite if you tried. So figuring out like where you're at things and not being angry about it, leaning into it and learning yourself and it's expanding that. I think it can be a great superpower in leaning into things and identifying with them. It's
Mhm.
like, what does this have to tell me right now? How is this showing up? Why is this showing up for me? It's like I have all of these things and these tools. It's like second nature for me. It's this. I was going to a networking event today, drive there, and anxiety hit me square on the ass. And I just burst out laughing in the truck. I'm like, all right, and now we're doing something. We'll try. We're going to listen to settle and we're going to do some energy before I get there.
Mhm.
It's like not freak out about it, not identify. Didn't go, oh my God, you know, my anxiety is flaring and I have to, oh, here it is. Hi. Right, let's work with this. You need to go. You have until this time to go on. Or
Yeah.
then do it anyway. It's like, oh, I'm showing up scattered right now. Okay, cool. That's okay. Not
Mhm.
demonizing aspects of being or aspects of our experience,
Right.
but just being able to sit with them. Society tells us if things look like XYZ, something's wrong with you.
Right.
And then people grabbing, like you said, use it as an excuse. I'm like, fuck that. Nothing should ever be an excuse. You can choose an excuse, you can choose an opportunity. The choice is always yours.
Yeah.
The choice is always yours. Again, we're too society pushes us to always look without is within. Looking within is very, very, very. And that radical accountability piece is like, oh, with that. It's the empowering thing in the world if you let yourself sit with it. And
Mhm.
that's where all the wisdom is.
Yeah. 100%. And so I want to ask another question. So, what's the difference between learning because you're genuinely being called to it versus learning because you don't trust enough to start without it? And this kind of talks about
Mhm.
all the things that we've kind of discussed so far, whether it's the certificates or the external validation or not trusting yourself enough. I kind of want to hear everybody's stories and their experiences with feeling that because it is something that everybody experiences at one point in time or another, and it's a learning journey. Like, we all get there, but everybody has their own personal stories, and I'm really curious to hear what those are. And then that kind of brings us into our next topic about being a sovereign being, and like I said, bringing back your power and really stepping into that role of what you came here to do, what your mission is, and learning to understand what that is at such a deep level that you don't need external validation. You don't need someone else to tell you. How do you get that confidence and that full knowing of this is what I'm here for? This is what I'm doing. This is how I'm going to do it. Take it or leave it, like, and not really get defensive or be afraid of people being judgy about that, and really having that trust in yourself.
Absolutely. And that's the thing too, remembering something that really helped me free myself from myself and free myself from the fear of people's judgment is others' judgment of you is rarely ever you.
Hmm.
It's their own
Yeah.
inability to reflect and do their own work. So it's like you can show up to it, it triggered you, and then show up to why it's triggering because it wasn't about you. So why are you kind of moving into that?
Hmm. Yeah.
It's like everything can be, but I don't want to go into analysis, and that's the thing. That yes, everything can be, but we don't go into analysis and like blow it up. But sit with things, be present with things, be mindful with things. And sometimes, like once you get to that space, it's like the integration's this. And other times, like, oh, it's okay where you're at. That's totally okay.
Hmm. And I see
Yeah.
that a lot in when I talk to people about their relationships and coworkers and things like that nature. Like there's so many people that project their own things onto other people, and they're like, okay, well, why is this person doing this to me, or why is this thing happening? And it's like, okay, well, why does it trigger you? Because there's something within you that is giving you that reaction. Because like I said earlier, the way you react to things is a reflection of you, and how other people react and the things they do is a reflection of them. So a lot of times you'll find that like people will project their own fears or their own insecurities onto other people, and this is why like we have this
Yeah.
whole culture of like gaslighting and all these other things, because they're not taking the time to really dive into their own inner stuff, and are now inadvertently projecting it onto other people. And so many people are wounded and have so much baggage now that really isn't theirs to carry, and they don't understand that. So finding a way to sit with those things and become self-aware and be like, okay, well, I don't really feel this way, but why is it making me feel this way? And getting down into those triggers and those, really deep things about who you are. And once you get to that level of self-awareness, I think the confidence kind of comes in as an effect of that, because you're like, well, this doesn't make sense. Like, I don't feel this way. Why are you acting like that? And then knowing, because you know who you are at a deeper level, you're like, okay, well, this is a you problem. I tell people this all the time. They're like, why aren't you mad that that person just like hated on you or whatever? And I'm like, that's a them problem, because I'm self-aware enough and I'm confident enough in who I am. I know who I am. I'm living my authentic, genuine life. And if they don't like what I say, well, if that's triggering them, that's a them problem. That's something they need to work out, because I'm just being me, living my best life. If they don't like it, then fine. Don't have me in it. That's fine. Whatever.
Yeah, not my circus, not my monkey. That's the thing with sovereignty. It's, you hear a lot of people talking of being a sovereign being and then give power back right and center. It's like sovereign being, stand in your power, being in your power. Yes, you're a human moment, working yourself through that. I don't know how many times I hear people from people that have done the work and people that have done the work, like, they made me feel that way. Did they put a gun in your head?
Right.
Nobody can make you feel anything. I felt this way when X, Y, Z happened. Beautiful. That's a reflection point.
Right.
That's like, what am I going to do? If I'm feeling affected by somebody doing X, Y, Z, why is that affecting me?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What is showing? What is that presenting for me to move to through? Right? Not being mad when you said I want mad.
Right.
Cool. That's a new problem,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like that's a kind of go within, but everybody again is that looking without in the blame game. And it's like, whoa, wait a minute, what is triggering within? Why am I fucking fiery about this?
Mm-hmm.
But it's good to be fiery. Please, there's a lot of bullshit in the world. We want to say truth. We want to stand in our truth. Absolutely. But also, again, where's that intuition versus ego? What hills are you ready, willing, and able to stand to die on for the right reasons?
Mm-hmm.
For no reasons, but for justices, for speaking truth, being sweet, authoritative position, for standing in your stubbornness.
Mm-hmm.
But often we like flip back into a victim cycle, realizing that we're doing it. And
Yeah.
it's like, whoa, wait a minute. Am I slipping into somebody else's energetic victim cycle? Am I slipping back into my own? Is there another layer coming up? What's happening right now? Is there both of these simultaneously happening? Is there ancestral shit coming in? Because more one thing can true at once. That's the pain in the ass and the of it. It can be one thing, it can be 20 different things coming in, and not being overwhelmed with it, being able to hold space for all of it. Where is this all coming? Where do I meet myself
Right.
within and with this? In order to move it.
Mm-hmm.
Because the standard power means, again, holding that sovereign space for herself
Yeah.
through the good, the bad, and the thing in between. This is not getting candy with rainbows out of every blue house. We need to just be able to be in space for all of it
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's
and
important.
show up to it.
Yeah. And it's important to remember at the end of the day, like, we were given this gift of free will for a reason. So you have the choice on how you react to things. If you take that first step to becoming self-aware and knowing who you are, and something triggers you, you have the choice to give that knee-jerk reaction and to continue following those same behavior patterns, or to step back and think about it and be like, okay, why is this triggering me? What is this trying to show me? What is this trying to teach me? And how can I approach this differently than I had in the past so I don't have the same result? and then really taking the time to feel the emotion, acknowledge the emotion, figure out why it's there, why it's showing up for you, and really getting down to that whole like relationship with it, and then releasing it and being like, I don't have to feel this way. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for showing me that there's something I need to pay attention to, because that's why we feel the emotions in the first place. But I don't need to let it dictate my life. I don't need it to become my identity. I don't have to sit in it. I can let it go and just be like, okay, I've learned something new about myself. I have another level of self-awareness. I know what's triggering me. And now I have the choice to whether I let that affect me or not in the future. And just having those healthy boundaries also, to maybe, if you find that this is repeatedly happening with people, to be like, okay, well, maybe I need to change my boundaries or set up a different barrier to where I don't allow people to treat me this certain way, or whatever the case may be. But really sitting with that, and knowing that you have the choice to sit in that motion, to react a certain way, to let it trigger you, and really take that whole healing process to the next level.
Absolutely. That reminds me of a really important thing for practitioners, especially new practitioners. Back for a second, back to the question that you asked, when you're ready. When do you know you're ready? And we were talking about how happiness is bold. It's still not a thing, but it's like when you are, oh God, I derailed. Oh darn it. It happened in a few moments. Ah! Okay, it was important. What was it? Give me one brief moment. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. We were talking about free will, having the choice, sitting with the emotions and the triggers, reacting.
Darn it. It ran away as fast as it ran in. Shoot. And it was a big one, too. Okay. I'll just hold space for it to come back in if it wants to. Oh, darn it. See?
Okay, it'll come back. It'll come back. No worries. So let's talk about something that we talked about. We've touched on briefly, but external validation. When, because this is something that I kind of struggled with in the beginning, because I'm like, okay, well, there's a difference between external validation and reassurances, because we're human, right? So there's a difference between like going within and knowing the answer to something, and also like having someone that's close to you be like, hey, you're doing a great job. Like, well, I knew I was doing a great job, but thank you. It's still nice to hear. So there's another thing where we have to find that balance, where everything, I've talked about this before, about how everything in the world is actually a paradox, which I hate paradoxes, but I'm learning to live with it. But like finding that balance between seeking out external validation to reaffirm what you already know, versus having reassurances and learning information that, kind of, I'm going to use the word validated because I don't have a better one at the time, but validates what you already know. To there's different layers to that. So what's your opinion about the difference between external validation and like getting reassured about something?
I think it depends on your energy behind it and your intent behind it. Are you looking for external validation in order to validate yourself? So are you dependent? If there's a dependence on it, that's when it's not necessarily a good thing. If it's like looking for external validation because I'm trying to myself, like, hey, I did this presentation. Do you have any constructive feedback for me? Like, I felt XZ. I felt like I was going to jump on a meeting. This is going on. How did oh, no, it looked really good. Like, this is this. You like you had, you're in a group and maybe slow down the part. But it's different when you're like energy behind and when you're seeking external validation. Because if you're seeking because you're dependent on that in order to move forward, for like, hey, this openness of want to build power and grow fast. I don't need this, but this would be really helpful for me on my journey right now. First, oh my God, everybody else thinking about me is going on, and da, 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 and then it being something that impacts very BS.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I
If
think,
that makes sense.
yeah,
And
it makes absolute
I
sense.
just randomly, but I wanted. I'll try to remember what it is.
Okay. So I think that's one of the key aspects of it too, is with the external validation. I think that you're actually seeking, you know, that that reassurance or that information to make yourself feel better. But when you're getting reassurance from someone, like, you're not seeking it out, but it is helpful. And it's like, okay, maybe getting that honest feedback about something might help you kind of shift maybe the way you approach something. Or maybe you're talking to someone who has, you know, they learn differently or whatever, and getting that honest feedback is important to kind of adjust and build upon your skills and be more diverse and universal when you're dealing
Yes.
with so many different people. But when you're looking for external validation, that's where that, where you don't trust yourself or you feel unworthy, or you're looking specifically seeking out something to make you feel better about your intuition. And ultimately they say as within so without, like you need to really have that inner
Exactly.
faith in yourself and trust yourself, because if you don't trust yourself, who else is going to? Because it's going to show up in ways, in your energy, in the way you speak, in the way you do things. That confidence really has to be
Oh,
there.
it really does. And the whole thing with codependency, right? Like we can become codependent on other people's opinions if we trust that more outside, like when that is something we trust more than our inner guidance.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a slip up that can be a really slippery slope. Before I forget again, the thing that I would say is really important for all practitioners, especially a new one, is I used to call it heal and build. So that's really as we're channeling. Um, that's the fun thing about doing it. It's like we're just conduits. So the stuff is coming to and through. But with heal and be healed, a lot of time we get, mirror messages come through. And sometimes they're easy and sometimes they're really fucking big. So again, being able to, when these messages are coming through, not just for the person you're working with, but it's also yourself,
Yep. Yep.
like being able to hold that space and being accountable for that. It's not about you, it's about having your aha moment and then doing the processing later. Because I've seen people get knocked out by that shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, no, it's the beautiful thing. It's for channeling this energy. So as we heal and as we work people, so too is happening for us. And these layers are peeling back, and it's amazing and it's so expensive.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes to get these big expansion, go through the contraction, that's okay. But being able again to hold these and show up to that.
Mm-hmm.
And that can also lead into the whole thing of external validation. Like, what was I doing? I have so many students come, oh my goodness, was I doing it right when this happened? Yeah, that's exactly it, man. That's me. And then taking this thing that feels seemingly disempowering in the moment and like extract the empowerment piece from that. Yeah, it was scary because it's new, but how did you show up to that? Are you going to show up in the future? How did you feel when you showed up that way? Right? Just kind of extracting that, because again, it's like our cycle coming on strong. And it's like seeing where it is. Those of us that have been doing the work for a long time, that's sneaky shit. It still comes up to me. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that was there. What the
Yeah.
hell?
Yep.
Oh, cool. Now I can shift it. Now I can show up it. Now I can be more aware of it. Be sneaky secret.
Yeah. And I was just talking about that the other day. Like, whenever you do a reading for someone, there's always a little bit of that message that's for you too. So you kind of have to have that open
Mm-hmm.
mind and pay attention to the things you're saying, because there's always a million reasons for everything that happens, not just one. And when you're doing a reading for someone or a healing for someone, there's always a little gem in there of something that either you needed to know, you needed to put piece together. And so having that open space and keeping your mind open for that, and not just ignoring it because, like, oh, this was meant for someone else. Well, no, you're the conduit for a reason, you're the messenger for a reason, because there's probably something in there that's going to resonate or connect with you, putting pieces
Yeah,
together that you were trying to work through in the background, or working on that intuition or whatever it is. There's always a little piece of that that's also for the messenger as well. So it's always interesting to see the things that pop
absolutely.
up, because everything happens for a reason. So you and that person were connected for a reason. So why is it, like, what is it that's really going to help both of you at the same time, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to ask one more
Yeah.
question.
And that's the beauty.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I just said that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, it
Like
really
it's so beautiful. Like, oh, at the same time. That's all.
is. Okay, so what's one thing that you've been waiting for permission or a certificate or external validation for, that you could actually start doing this week? What's one step that you might not feel you're ready for, but you have that base level confidence, that base level intuition that you can start doing this week that you've been afraid to start doing so far? So I also want to say that if anything that we talked about today or this week resonates with you, I want to invite you to take my free challenge next week, where we're going to actually do a bit more of a deep dive into what you can do step by step to kind of open yourself up to your intuition, to really learn about these deeper layers about yourself. And I'm going to provide practical tools to kind of help you integrate that into your everyday life and make you realize and see firsthand that it's actually a lot easier than you probably think it is. So thank you, Amanda, for being here today. This was an amazing conversation. I really appreciate you taking the time out.
Absolutely, Heather. Thanks for having me here. I had a blast.
Yeah.
Oh.